Good evening, everyone. I wanted to talk about under from under the apple tree here on Sunday evening, and Evolution's End. Joseph Clinton Pierce, and he's the author of Cosmic End and Magical Child, and quite interesting in when this started as we know it today. So I seek this knowledge from this book 23 years ago. And how we're in grave biological jeopardy to these five common practices that has caused the increase in violence, child suicide, and the deteriorating family and social structures. And I would say this guy is spot on. It started with number one, hospital rebirth, childbirth, rebirth. And how by being born in a hospital, it interferes with the bonding process, between the mother and the child. This impedes on potential for future bonds with, you know, children, friends, spouse, parents, and the society that we live in. So when you are away from that nurturing that is so needed in your stages of life until you're 7 years old, and you have to get ready for the big bad world out there and leave the nest, you had time for their development process. And so when you throw them out there into daycare at 3 months old now, it's between 2 and 3 and preschool. So we got to where we send them as infants. And that takes you even further from your ability to bond and implanting a lifelong sense of alienation and isolation. That's what that does when you can't bond and, like children in foster care. Uh, they grow up in a system where they were not shown love. And when you're not shown love and given nurturing, you have to fight for survival. And that's your cognitive part of your brain, to defend. And then there's the television and the internet now. And it's not the content, it's the mechanical effect that is crippling your child's ability to learn in its natural way, not in a mechanical way. And then premature attempts for a formal education. This prevents the development of the imagination. And without the develop of imagination, uh, that creates violence. And then there's the hormones, synthetic growth hormones that are in your food. It just accumulates in the hormones development. This is where you get the, from my opinion, your physical and sexual development is impaired. And psychological, and your intellectual maturity is radical impaired. Like, this has accumulated over 3 billion years, according to Pearce, within our own neutral structures. And so it's up to us to recognize this and consciously participate in the ongoing creative process. You know, unleashing powers that by today's standards might be considered awesome powers that Pearce claims that are simply the result of evolution allowing to proceed along its own unhindered and natural course. And he boldly points out that ways in which we can pass through the forces that impede us and come to the next step of human evolution. You know, reflecting on things from when you were a child and how you were guided by your parents and then your teachers and your doctors. And I don't think they intentionally were backwards, you know. It's society that is backwards. And you have to go within to discover this, not look to someone else's view on there. Sometimes other people's views give you food for thought and help along this process. You know, we all need each other to consciously, collectively rise above, you know, like phoenix out of the ashes. And I was thinking about endless love. You know, endless love takes flight, and flights soar. You know, we have to soar like the eagle.